Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. Despite a successful pilot, IRS's Direct File required more than 1,000 fixes after launch. And zero trust for the Internet of Military Things. It's Thursday, July 11th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Here are today's top headlines. While tax season is well in the rearview mirror and the IRS has claimed a successful pilot launch of its free Direct File online tax filing system to 12 select states, that journey wasn't without some harrowing bumps in the road, according to the agency officials who led technical development of the program. During a President's Management Agenda event in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, Merici Vinton, deputy service owner for Direct File, and Chris Given, Direct File's product lead, shared how there were more than 1,000 fixes or improvements made to the system after launch. The two equated the program's initial success to a cautious approach favored by IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel. Vinton said the IRS would only proceed in opening Direct File up to, quote, larger, more progressive audiences when the team was confident in the product's ability to scale, adding that maintaining the trust of users is what drove the decisions on how to proceed from there. At the end of the filing season, more than 140,000 taxpayers in pilot states, Arizona, California, Florida, Massachusetts, Nevada, New Hampshire, New York, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and Wyoming, had used Direct File to submit their taxes. The IRS received more than $90 million in refunds and reported $35 million in balances due, and the program got the go-ahead to become a permanent operation. Though a House Republican effort in the appropriations process to zero out Direct File looms in the background, the IRS product team is working full steam ahead on expanding the program to all 50 states for the next filing season and tweaking the system to support most common tax situations, with a particular focus on those situations that impact working families. In other news, zero trust remains one of the biggest buzzwords in the federal tech community. In Senate, lawmakers focused on defense policy want to make sure the U.S. military is applying the cybersecurity concept to another buzzword, the Internet of Things. The Senate Armed Services Committee on Monday released the full text and report for its version of the fiscal 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, with a number of cybersecurity provisions included in it related to zero trust, a widely recognized cloud-based concept that assumes an adversary has already gained access to a network and therefore looks to limit further movement internally by requiring constant monitoring and authentication of users and their devices as they pass from one part of the network to another. Key among them is a requirement that, if passed as is, would enlist the DoD Chief Information Officer to issue new guidance tailoring the department's zero trust framework to human-wearable devices, sensors, and other smart technology included in the so-called Internet of Military Things within 180 days of the law's passage. Like traditional Internet of Things hardware, the Internet of Military Things is generally comprised of interconnected, data-rich, sensor-driven devices meant to communicate or share information on a domain in both combat and non-combat settings. While the devices are credited for inexpensively enhancing the military's ability to sense and share information, in some cases in an automated fashion, they also have led to a proliferation of endpoints that adversaries can target for a cyber attack. A 2015 Center for Strategic and International Studies report referred to security as the single most important challenge for IoT implementation across the military. The guidance from the CIO would also require details on the role that identity, credential, and access management technologies would play in that larger zero trust strategy as it's applied to the military Internet of Things. A Defense Department strategy signed out in 2022 outlines target levels of zero trust, which are a minimum set of 91 capability outcomes that DoD agencies and components must meet to secure and protect networks. The Pentagon's goal is to achieve those target levels no later than September 30th of 2027. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.